Start with the name of God, who is gracious, merciful. Quran Topics by Tanvir Kazmi. Chapter 5, Heaven, Audio number 2. Bani Israel, Chapter 17, verse 13. We have recorded the fate of every human being. It is tied to his neck. On the day of resurrection, we will hand him a record that is accessible. Read your own record. Today you suffice as your own reckoner. Whoever is guided for his own good, and whoever goes astray does so to his own detriment. No sinner will bear the sins of anyone else. We never punish without first sending a messenger. Bani Israel, chapter 17, verse 19. As for those who choose the hereafter as their priority and work righteousness, while believing their efforts will be appreciated. For each one of them we provide. We provide for those who, and these from your Lord's bounties. Your Lord's bounties are inexhaustible. Know how we preferred some people above others. The differences in the hereafter are far greater and far more significant. Bani Israel, chapter 17, verse 49. They said, after we turn into bones and fragments, we get resurrected anew? Say, even if you turn into rocks or iron, even if you turn into any kind of creation that you deem impossible, they will then say, who will bring us back? Say, the one who created you in the first place. They will then shake their heads and say, when will that be? Say, it may be closer than you think. The day he summons you, you will respond by praising him, and you will then realize that you had lasted in this life but a short while. In Israel, chapter 17, verse 71. The day will come when we summon every people together with their record. As for those who are given a record of righteousness, they will read their record and will not suffer the least injustice. Al-Kahf, chapter 18, verse 30. As for those who believe and lead a righteous life, we never fail to reward those who work righteousness. They have deserved gardens of Eden, wherein rivers flow. They will be adorned therein with bracelets of gold, and will wear clothes of green silk and velvet, and will rest on comfortable furnishing. What a wonderful reward! What a wonderful living. Maryam, chapter 19, verse 60. Only those who repent, believe, and lead a righteous life will enter paradise without the least injustice. The gardens of Eden await them, as promised by the Most Gracious, for those who worship Him, even in privacy. Certainly His promise must come to pass. They will not hear any nonsense therein, only peace. They receive their provisions therein day and night. Such is paradise. We grant it to those among our servants who are righteous, who do not come down except by the command of your Lord. To Him belongs our past, our future, and everything between them. Your Lord is never forgetful, the Lord of heavens and earth, and everything between them. You shall worship Him, and steadfastly persevere in worshipping Him. Do you know of anyone who equals Him? Maryam chapter 19, verse 76. God augments the guidance of those who choose to be guided, for the good deeds are eternally rewarded by your Lord and bring far better returns. Taha chapter 20, verse 105. They ask you about the mountains. Say, my Lord will wipe them out. He will leave them like a barren, flat land. Not even the slightest hill will you see therein, nor a dip. On that day everyone will follow the caller without the slightest deviation. All sounds will be hushed before the most gracious Lord. You will hear nothing but whispers. On that day, intercession will be useless except for those permitted by the most gracious Lord, and those utterances conform to His will. He knows their past and their future, while none encompasses His knowledge. All faces will submit to the living, the eternal, and those who are burdened by their transgressions will fail. As for those who worked righteousness while believing, they will have no fear of injustice or adversity. Al-Anbiya, chapter 21, verse 19. To Him belongs everyone in the heavens and the earth, and those at Him are never too arrogant to worship Him, nor do they ever waver. They glorify night and day without ever tiring. Al-Anbiya, chapter 21, verse 101. As for those who deserved our magnificent reward, they will be protected from it. They will not hear its hissing. They will enjoy a living where they can get everything they desire forever. The great horror will not worry them, and the angels will receive them joyfully. This is your day that has been promised to you. On that day we will fold the heavens, skies like the folding of a book. Just as we initiated the first creation, we will repeat it. This is our promise. We will certainly carry it out. Al-Hajj, chapter 22, verse 23. God will admit those who believe and lead a righteous life into gardens with flowing streams. They will be adorned therein with bracelet of gold and pearls, and their garments therein will be silk. Al-Hajj, chapter 22, verse 24. They have been guided to the good words. They have been guided in the path of the most praised. Al-Hajj, verse 22, chapter 22, verse 56. All sovereignty on that day belongs to God, and He will judge among them. As for those who believe and lead a righteous life, they have deserved the gardens of bliss. Al-Mu'minun, chapter 23, verse 1. Successful indeed are the believers who are revered during their prayers, and they avoid vain talk, and they give charity, and they maintain their chastity only with their spouses or those who are rightfully theirs. Do they have sexual relationships? They are not to be blamed. Those who transgress these limits are the transgressors. When it comes to the deposits entrusted to them, as well as any agreements they make, they are trustworthy, and they observe prayers regularly. Such are the inheritors. They will inherit paradise, wherein they live forever. We created the human being from a certain kind of mud. Subsequently, we reproduced him from a tiny drop that is placed into a well-protected repository. Then we developed the drop into a hanging embryo, then developed the hanging embryo into a bite-sized fetus, then created the bite-sized fetus into bones, then covered the bones with flesh. We thus produce a new creature. Most blessed is the God, the best creator. Then later on you die. Then on the day of resurrection you will be resurrected. We created above you 7 universes in layers, and we are never unaware of a single creature in them.